The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Crossed Flags, a racing podcast. It's your midweek fix for racing news and information. Brought to you by the Championship Racing Network. Now let's head trackside to join your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson.
Welcome in. Made it to episode number 24 of Crossed Flags. Thank you for joining us. I'm Steve West. That's Matt Nicholson, producer. Kerry Adams over there on the side. We might be talking to him here in the next couple of weeks as things go on, but we got a busy show today. We're going to be talking a little bit later about a situation in Formula One where a driver is going to get sidelined. We're also going to talk about a former Cup champion who has a chance to win a champion in another series entirely. Plus, we're about to make our predictions when it comes to the Cup Series, because the playoffs are about to begin. And that brings us to subject number one. Welcome in. We appreciate you joining us. Don't forget, download, subscribe. You can do that right below here on Jock's YouTube. Subscribe to it if you're listening to the podcast. We do appreciate it on the website. So here's the deal. Last, 2-3 weeks, we've seen a wannabe party crasher who had the victory pulled away from him by NASCAR because of overtly aggressive driving. Obviously, we're talking about Austin Dillon. And then another couple of party crashers decided to follow suit. Harrison Burton turns around and he grabs the win at Daytona, which, again, congratulations to the Wood Brothers. Win number 100 for them as an organization and win number 1 for Harrison Burton, which should help him in his search for a ride next year because he's out of the 21 car at the end of this year. And then this guy that we're about to show you a picture of, Chase Briscoe, suddenly jumped up and decided, you know what? I like Darlington. Placed 5th there in the spring. Let's say we go win this thing. And all of a sudden, several big names like Chris Buescher, who won 3 races last year, Kyle Busch, they're on the outside looking in.
Ross Chastain's out.
Exactly. I don't know. What do you think about that guy? It's an interesting move because this is a team, well, let's face it, this is a team that isn't exactly the most rock solid on the planet anymore.
No, they're not. It's what you call the ultimate version of a lame duck team.
Yeah, absolutely. Stewart-Haas Racing, in case you missed the news from earlier on this year, will be no more at the end of the year. Tony Stewart has decided he's done for whatever reason with Gene Haas and or NASCAR. We're thinking it's a combination of the two, truth be told.
Probably.
At some point in time, we may find out the whole story, but at this point in time, we're only going on speculation. But either way, Tony Stewart's out. Next year, what is Stewart-Haas Racing becomes the Haas factory team, dropping all the way down from 4 Cup Series cars to, at least the plan seems to be, 1 Cup Series car and the 2 Xfinity Series cars. And then this guy goes out and wins the regular season finale and puts himself into the playoffs.
Pretty sure there's a text message somewhere that said, watch Chase Briscoe win this whole thing.
There was. He said it. And he was right. And if you had been watching this race from the drop of the green flag all the way to when the checkered flag was flown, you understand why exactly he was saying that. Because he was at or near the front all afternoon, evening, and night long.
He was.
And I don't know where that was. Because really, if you look at the entirety of Stewart-Haas Racing, all 4 drivers for a long period of time were in the top 20. Where's that performance been all year long?
I don't know where it's been, but when you go back and look at it, Briscoe's 2 best performances at Darlington with 2 wins, he's dueled Kyle Busch to both wins at the end, Xfinity and Cup. But it's one of those tracks to where it suits his driving style coming from a dirt background. It gets hot and slick, and you have to wheel the car, counter steer the car, do whatever you need to do to get it to drive right. And he's one of the very few that can accomplish that, along with Larson and Reddick.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 top ones.
And when you consider the fact that he had to do one whale of a move, because there are certain tracks like Talladega, if they go 4 wide, we're not surprised. If they go 5 wide at certain parts of the track, we're not surprised at Talladega. If you go 2 wide at Darlington, you start to sit up and take notice. And if somebody tries to take it 3 wide, you're really on the edge of your seat if you're not standing up, because you're expecting massive calamity. Got to give Chase a lot of credit for taking that car 3 wide and grabbing the lead from Kyle Larson because, I mean, let's face it, Kyle Larson's one of the best that there is.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't care what series you're talking about. So for him to be able to make that move and make it stick, congratulations to Chase Briscoe. Well earned. And in videos yesterday, they grabbed the whole entirety of Stewart-Haas Racing together, and Chase addressed them. And he said, you know what? This is a team that is capable of doing something that we saw back in 2011. You think about 2011. His mentor, the guy whose car number he's driving, remember, Chase is in the 14. Tony Stewart, in 2011, made the Cup Series playoffs that year without getting a win in the regular season. And then all of a sudden, out of the clear blue sky, Tony Stewart reels off 5 wins in 10 races. Chase Briscoe says that he feels like this team is capable of doing that. Now, that's a great pep talk. So far, over the last, year and a half, 2 years, give or take, that's not something that we've necessarily seen. But at the same time, now that this team knows, hey, we've got a guy that's in the playoffs, and this is no disrespect to Josh Berry, no disrespect to Noah Gragson, no disrespect to Ryan Preece.
Sure.
But you can't tell me that the entirety of Stewart-Haas Racing on the Cup side of that garage isn't going to be working to do everything they can to get him moving ahead.
Absolutely. I would not be the least little bit shocked if you see somebody with the caliber of Rodney Childers linking up with Richard Boswell, working on that car together, to where you got that scenario of a 2011-esque performance. And with going back to Atlanta this coming weekend, that car was arguably, in my opinion, until he got over-aggressive and made a mistake, he was arguably the strongest car that could pass at wheel and go to the front at wheel out of the entire field.
Yeah, he was very, very comfortable racing in Atlanta in the spring.
Very.
So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this goes. And remember, this is kind of an odd first round as well, because we had the Olympics break, the 2 weeks that we were off there, and that caused, as we noted, Darlington to be the last race of the regular season as opposed to Daytona. And then that means in the playoffs, we go Atlanta, Watkins Glen. We're putting an actual road course into the playoffs for the first time ever. And then we go to Bristol. Does this play to Chase Briscoe's strength? He seems to feel like this line of these next 10 tracks that we're going to really kind of play to his strengths. And that's a good thing for him because it helps his confidence.
In round one, I'm going to say 2 of the 3 do. 2 of the 3.
Atlanta and Watkins Glen?
Atlanta and Bristol.
You go Bristol. Okay. All right.
He's fair at road courses, but he's not spectacular. I don't really think anybody that's on the preliminary entry list for next week, outside of who's going to be sitting in the 16 car, I don't think anybody is defined as spectacular on a road course. You're fair to okay, because you can have any given day can be like like a yo-yo.
Sure.
Up and down, up and down.
Yeah, if you don't love road and street course racing, Watkins Glen can be a real tricky place.
Yeah, and if Gisbergen's not the odds-on favorite next week, I will be shocked.
Absolutely. All right, so that brings us to this is the last guy into the playoffs because, again, they set the Cup Series playoffs at that point in time. So let's take a look, shall we, at the 16 drivers who are in the Cup Series playoffs here. You're looking already at the bottom here. Martin Truex Jr., former champion.
Yep.
Kind of a lame duck. I mean, let's face it, he's at the end of the year. He's exiting the 19 car. The guy that we've just been talking about, Chase Briscoe, is going to take it over next year. Ty Gibbs is in there. He is a playoff rookie. This is his first time in only a second year, so congratulations to him. He just missed out on it last year. We talked about Harrison Burton just a moment ago. He got in with the win at Daytona, but this is also his first time in the playoffs. And then Chase Briscoe. All those 4 are underneath the cut line to begin with. Kyle Larson's your obvious leader. He's the 1 seed. Tyler Reddick, who is your regular season champion, picked that up despite the fact that he was racing at Darlington with a stomach virus? I can't imagine that.
I have, just to elaborate on that, I've raced with the actual flu, and that's
Massive respect.
Massive respect to do that, just because I know what it feels like to be under the weather, behind the wheel, trying to hustle a car around the racetrack. For that race of mine was 75 laps versus 367. Huge difference. But it takes you know what to do that. Mm-hmm. And with a stomach virus,
yeah,
he said he had.
And he said he felt like pretty much throughout the course of the evening he was ready to toss his cookies at any time.
Yeah.
So he's your regular season champion, the one seed, 3 seed there. All right, so here we go. We have done, for many, many years now, we've done our predictions as to the Cup Series playoffs. And we usually do it by who's going out in the round of 16 to the round of 12, who are going to be the 4 left of the side, who are going to be the 4 left of the side when they go to the round of 8, who are going to be the 4 left side when we finally get to the final 4 at Phoenix, and then we'll choose our champion. First 4 out for you.
First 4 out is going to be 21.
Harrison Burton.
The 2.
Oh, going Austin Cindric off the bat. Okay.
The 99.
Daniel Suarez.
And I'm going to say, from the fact of an accident, he getting caught up in somebody else's mess, I'm going to say the 14 leads in round 1.
Chase Briscoe. You and I are not too terribly far off when it comes to that. The first 4 that I've got out, and I hate to say it, but just because it's a long way to fly, Martin Truex Jr. is out in round 1. I also think that the 21, just because, yeah, I get it, Daytona. Congratulations on the win. But what else have you shown all year long? So the 21 car, I think, goes by the wayside real quick. I'm with you on Daniel Suarez. Daniel Suarez, yes, he got the win at Atlanta. He's going to need to repeat that in order, in my mind, to be able to make it on to round number 2. And then, yeah, I unfortunately believe that Chase Briscoe probably will not move on, even though, yes, like you noted, a couple of these tracks do tend to lead to his strength. But when you look at the situation that we're dealing with here, yeah, things are pretty close from about the 7 seed on to the 16 seed. The points get pretty tight. Mm-hmm. But you're looking at a team, not only the 14, but Stewart-Haas Racing as a whole, that has not shown the consistency that they need to tell me that he can go from Darlington and that's going to launch him into doing what they said. Would I love it? And what shirt am I wearing? Would I love to see it? Absolutely. Am I confident in it? No. I'll be at Atlanta on Sunday. I'm going to go to the race with a couple of friends, and we're going to go check it out. And I hope to be there in person and celebrate the fact that he could move on to round 2, just to take off the media hat and put on the fan hat. But am I convinced? The media hat side says, no, I'm not. All right, so with them out, who's your second 4 out?
Going out in round 2. 19's exiting.
Okay, so you and I both now have Truex out.
I'm going to have the 6 car exiting in round 2.
Got Keselowski going out. Okay.
Here's where it gets tough.
It does start to get where some people are going to go, really? You chose them?
I'm going to say Ty Gibbs leaves in round 2.
Okay.
And Joey Logano.
All right. We're again pretty close here. You had Austin Cindric going out in round 1. I've got him going out this round. I think he can survive the first round. I think. But I think he'll go out in round 2. I also say Ty Gibbs is going out. And it's not because of a lack of performance. It's just because when you look at who's ahead of him at this point in time, not really sure he's going to best them all. Just don't see it.
Right.
I've got Brad Keselowski also going out in this round. And I thought about this long and hard, But when I look at the performance over the course of the year, I just don't see it out of the 12 car. I've got Ryan Blaney, the defending Cup champion, going out in the round of 12. Mm-hmm. So that brings us to the round of 8. 8 drivers left. 4 have to go after we get done at Martinsville. Who are the 4 that are no longer competing in your mind for the title?
Alex Bowman.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Blaney.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
Now it gets real tough. These guys are good. These guys they've all shown performance throughout the course of the year at varying times.
Chase Elliott.
Not the most popular pick for you. There's going to be some people that are going, really? You chose Chase Elliott to go out?
And your man sitting second in the points, Christopher Bell.
Christopher Bell. Okay. You and I start to disagree a little bit here. We agree on one thing here. In this round, Alex Bowman goes out. I think he can get that far, but I don't think he can get any further. You already had Joey Logano out. I've got him going out this round. I have William Byron going out this round. Again, hot shoe right off at the beginning of the year. Where's he been all summer?
Quiet as a mouse.
It's because of what he did at the beginning of the year that I think he gets this far.
Right. Oh, for sure.
And then, truth be told, just because of the fact that this team always finds a way to stub their toe when it comes time to competing for that championship.
I know where you're going.
Denny Hamlin goes out here. I don't see Denny Hamlin surviving all the way to the title round, and I certainly don't see him hoisting the Cup championship. I just don't. So I think Denny Hamlin goes out, and he is not going to make the Final Four. Final Four is?
My Final Four, the 5, the 45, 24, and 11.
Okay. I've got Kyle Larson in the 5 car. I've got Christopher Bell in the 20. I've got Tyler Reddick in the 45. I've got the 9 of Chase Elliott making it there. Who do you have hoisting the title at the end of the year?
Oh, this is where I had to fry a few brain cells. But at the end of the year, raising the trophy, I'm going to say the 11 finally gets it done.
Oof, you have more faith than I do.
By the slightest, and I mean the slightest of margins.
You have more faith than I do. I'm sorry, I don't have the faith in it. I think the battle will come down to the 2 drivers who I think are the best this year. Not necessarily the 1 and the 2 seed either. I'm actually thinking that the battle will come down at the end of the day to the 1 and the 3 seed. I think it'll be between Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick is going to win a title, if not multiple titles in his career. I just see it coming. Mm-hmm. He's that good. He's that talented. I don't think it's this year, though. I think Kyle Larson holds up title number 2. Not a big surprise when you look at what he's done all year long, but it is because of what he has done all year long that I just can't avoid it.
When I said the slightest of margins, that's who I had the slightest of margin over was a 5 car.
Yeah.
Hamlin he makes a move to win the title and he edges him barely.
Okay. Again, you got more faith than I do. I'm not sure I see it. But
we'll see.
We'll find out. Let's go back and talk about the guy who used to be in the 14 car. And let's talk about Tony Stewart, otherwise known as Smoke. This year, he is driving for his own Tony Stewart Racing drag racing team. And he's driving the Top Fuel Racer because his wife and he were trying to start a family, and they are expecting their first child, which I think is, November?
Yes. Yeah.
I think do sometime in November. By the way, congratulations to Chase Briscoe. He and his wife are expecting twins sometime in the next 4 or 5 weeks or so, they said. So he's all of a sudden on twins watch. They're hoping it happens during the middle of the week. But I heard earlier today, as we set this up and record this on a Wednesday, his boss next year, Joe Gibbs, has offered up his plane if he needs to make a quick run on a race weekend to be at his wife's side. So
speaks a lot about Coach, for sure.
Says a lot about Coach, no doubt about it. This guy right here, in year 1 of being in a Nitro Top Fuel dragster, was good enough to be able to be the 7 seed in the chase for the championship. Now, we talk about a driver's driver, which is basically a guy or a driver, doesn't matter, male, female, who can get into any car from any series and be competitive almost right off the bat. That guy's proven he can do it, just like Kyle Larson has proven he can do it. AJ Foyt could do it. Not a whole lot of other drivers could turn around and say, you know what? Put me in the top level of the NHRA and watch me go run for a title. Now, do I honestly think that Tony Stewart's going to be able to win the title this year? No.
Let me put this disclaimer on this. And I mean this in every sense of the word. When he starts peaking at a certain point of his season and he's not falling off, he's steadily climbing. People may disagree with me, but that can be one of the most dangerous individuals behind the wheel of a motorsports vehicle competing for a championship.
Yeah.
And he is peaking at the correct time.
Yeah.
After the break, guess what? He's went, just like this.
His reaction times have consistently gotten better and better to the point where he is just about every time I look at a reaction time for Tony Stewart, and I don't study them by any stretch, but it seems like every time I see a Tony Stewart reaction time, it's under 0.05.
I think, I'm going to pull something up. Go ahead.
For example, perfect reaction time would be a 0.001 or 0.000. You don't see that very often. We finally saw it this year. Gage Herrera, the U.S. Nationals this past weekend, got his motorcycle to do a perfect 0.000 reaction time.
He cut a perfect light.
I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better. I've seen Tony Stewart do as well as a 0.017, and I've seen him be quote-unquote asleep at the light at a 0.1 something or other. But it just over the course of time, you can tell he's having a blast doing Top Fuel, and he is dedicated to getting it better and better and better and honing that craft, even at 50 plus as a rookie in Nitro Top Fuel. So the fact that he's there should actually, probably scare the pants off of several drivers. And there are 12 in the Top Fuel division that are qualified and may be able to claim a title. He's got a lot of hurdles to jump over. He's got a lot of points to jump up and a lot of drivers. He's a 7 seed.
The semifinals, he cut a 069 light, and Steve Torrence cut a 068.
Okay. And Steve Torrence is a 4-time Top Fuel champ. So he's equaling Steve Torrence.
Second round, he cut a 063. Justin Ashley cut a 043, but Justin Ashley lit him up at the 330-foot mark.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hazed his tires, basically.
Round one, he cut a... He and Doug Foley cut identical lights at 065.
Okay. So he's pretty consistently in the 0.06 area, which is a little bit slower than what I have seen. But when you can look at it and notice that he is equaling drivers who have been in the Top Fuel division for many years now. Talked about Steve Torrence just a moment ago, 4-time champion in the Top Fuel division. That guy's matching him.
He cut a 083 in Q5.
See, stuff like that'll hurt, which is why you sit there and you constantly practice on
Brittany Force cut a 089. So he beat her off the light.
And Brittany Force is a former champion Top Fuel.
I'm right here on Q4 now, just going through his lights that he cut just at Indianapolis alone.
Yeah.
Q4, he cut a 080.
Okay. So he did improve.
Yeah, he got improved. Q3, he cut a... Q3. Where are you? Q3 cut a 079. Brittany Force cut a 121.
Ooh, she was asleep at the light.
Q2, he cut a 070.
Okay.
Dan Mercier cut a 029.
Ooh. Wow.
And he still beat him to the line of 370 to 378.
Showing some power. definitely.
And then to remind you that Doug Coletta missed the field, and he's a points leader.
Yeah. So
Q1, he cut a... where are you? I forgot there was like 20 drivers. Here we go.
Well, of course.
Q1, he cut a 0.80 against Tony Schumacher's 0.77. So he's right there to everyone.
Yeah, with some of the best that are out there. So could he get hot? Witness our reference of 2011 and win 5 races in 10 in the playoffs like he did in 2011. In this case, could he go out there and get a couple of event wins here and put himself in there? Yeah, it's possible. Again, I'm not really seeing what I need during the actual finals. But you know what? Again, once you get hot, who knows? 7 seed, a lot of points behind, and you got 6 drivers to jump over. It's a big ask. It's a big ask. But the fact that he made it in his first year, we had to note it right here on the show.
Yep.
And that brings us to one more note here, and we're kind of going through this whole thing with a whole lot of Stewart-Haas kind of undertone to it. In this case, we went from Tony Stewart to talking about Gene Haas's other little ventures called Haas F1, the Formula One team. This is turn 4 in Italy at Monza. And what we're showing here, don't worry about this car. We're not worried about the car that's in front. We're worried about the two that are side by side. Kevin Magnussen from Haas F1, Pierre Gasly from Alpine. This, I think, is just after they made contact, if I'm missing my guess.
Had to be. Had to be.
Those two made some slight wheel-to-wheel contact. Let me repeat the phrase. They made slight wheel-to-wheel contact. Neither one of them spun out. Neither one of them wrecked. Both continued on. Kevin Magnussen finished the race in 10th. Pierre Gasly finished out of the points, somewhere, 12th, 13th, somewhere
I
in
think
that
so,
area.
yeah.
Because they touched wheels, because they touched tires, race stewards for the Italian Grand Prix docked Kevin Magnussen 10 seconds, a penalty he served in race. Still finished 10th. Afterward, they assessed him 2 points to his F1 Super License. F1 Super License is the license that allows you, and only you, and along with a select few others, to be able to race in Formula One. To be able to get an F1 Super License in your feeder series, of which IndyCar is included in there, you need to rack up 40 points over a 2-year period of time? 3-year period of time? 3-year period of time. IndyCar and Formula 3, think Craftsman Truck Series in NASCAR terms, for example, will get you 20 points if you win the championship. If you win the championship in Formula 2, think Xfinity to Cup, you get 30 points towards your super license, which means you still have work to do, right? Once you attain your F1 super license, if you do something considered egregious, causing a collision, things like that, they can assess you a point penalty. And if you build up 12 penalty points on your F1 super license over a 12-month running calendar, in other words, not the calendar year, but in the previous 12 months, if you have built up 12 penalty points on your F1 super license, you have to sit out a race. Assessing him 2 penalty points for a slight contact with tires means he's got to sit out the next race, which is Azerbaijan. Now, it's not going to hurt him in points because, well, Kevin Magnussen hasn't been performing all that great. This was one of the few top 10s that he's had all year long. But still, I question when, yeah, maybe it could have been avoided, but when there really wasn't anything hurt, and when the driver who was the subject of the wheel-to-wheel confrontation, Pierre Gasly, comes out and goes, he was assessed a 2-point penalty. I hope they revisit that. It does make me wonder whether or not that should have been assessed.
Motorsports, in my opinion, if you want to debate me, let's go. Motorsports, in my opinion, is on the same level as football. It is a contact sport. By that definition, contact is going to happen.
Sure.
But you barely, so if I was to go barely, I'm making a pass and I barely brush Steve, oh, you got 2 points off of your license penalty. You got to sit down and race. For what? Racing hard? I mean, and this super license stuff is a joke anyway, because when you have, and these are examples, when you have the NASCAR Cup Series that pays out the same amount of super license points that Indy NXT does. When you have the NASCAR Xfinity Series that pays out the same amount of points as the F1 Academy, which is formerly the W Series.
Yeah, which is a Formula 4 level, according to them. Yeah, I know. It's confusing as all get out. And, we can sit here and we have on this podcast and on the big show on Saturdays, we have really gone after NASCAR for their lack of consistency when it comes to rules. Formula One's rule book makes NASCAR's look like a 5-year-old's kindergarten book.
The rule book at Formula One makes NASCAR's rule book look like green eggs and ham compared to Harry Potter.
Exactly. I mean, it is unbelievable how detailed and how many rules Formula One has because of the FIA. And then you start and you think, okay, if Kevin Magnussen had gotten into Pierre Gasly, and this picture showed a whole bunch of smoke, and Pierre Gasly, somewhere down in this area of the track, pointed that way.
Big difference.
Okay, I could see where you might assess him a penalty for instigating a collision. But bumping tires when you're going for a spot?
And you have no spotters.
Because that's exactly what they're doing here. This is a race for position. Kevin Magnussen's going for a pass for position.
And judging by that picture, he has position on the outside car. Clear position.
But because the front wing of Pierre Gasly's car is technically ahead of the front wing of Kevin Magnussen's car, it's Kevin Magnussen's fault. Here's the deal. If Kevin Magnussen drove a little bit deeper into this corner,
they're both wiped out.
Kevin Magnussen,
they're both wiped out.
Well, and let's just say, for example, Kevin Magnussen is in front of Pierre Gasly. I got to wonder if Pierre Gasly becomes the guy who they ding 10 seconds and assess 2 points to for happening to touch tires, because that's the general thought. Pierre Gasly being in front, he's deemed to have track position on Kevin Magnussen. I'm sorry. I thought the whole idea was to try and cut the corner as short as you could. To me, Kevin Magnussen's the guy that's got the proper track position, even though technically he's still running behind Pierre Gasly in the standings.
He's got position. That's clear. He's got inside position, so the inside car technically has right of way. If you want to do it by the gentleman's agreement terms. But
Formula One, I think you got it wrong. FIA, race stewards, however you want to put it. I think you got it wrong. I doubt seriously you'll revisit it. But in this case, Pierre Gasly, is he himself saying no harm, no foul? He's not mad at Kevin Magnussen. He didn't go after him after the race going, what the heck were you thinking? He said, hey, he beat me fair and square. We happened to touch tires. Okay. Brushed it off, moved on. I don't know why.
I don't want the FIA and the F1 to cause me to have to take a whole bottle of Aleve to alleviate a migraine. Because this sanctioning body gives me a migraine every time they do something, make a stupid call.
Yeah.
Just like this.
So that leaves Haas F1 trying to find an alternate driver. Word is that they're talking to Ferrari, who is the team that they have that get their engines from and about 50% of their car from, truth be told, about reserve driver. And the number one reserve driver for both Ferrari and Haas F1 happens to be Oliver Behrman. Ollie Behrman, who raced earlier this year, filling in for Carlos Sainz, who was having an appendectomy. It's easy for me to say. And parked the car inside the top 10. Mm-hmm. And guess who he's racing for on a full-time basis next year, taking the seat of one Kevin Magnussen? That's right, Oliver Behrman.
Yep.
So it seems like he would be the logical choice, but as we tape this, as we record this, nothing has been announced by Haas F1. We would expect talks to finish up within the next couple of days, and maybe by the time we get to the big show on Saturday, we'll have an answer for you as to exactly who it is that's going to be filling in, but it seems like it would probably be Ollie Behrman. We'll let you know, and that's Saturday morning. Oh, speaking of which, the 2-hour show, usually 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time. Welcome to college football. Yep, it has officially kicked off. In your South, you know that already. Last week, we didn't even do the radio portion of the show, so we did a YouTube-only show, which, due to some technical problems, started a little bit after 8, but that's not the point. We basically did an 8 to about 8:15 to about 10:30 show. And we had a good time.
Give or take, yeah.
We had a good time doing it, and we're glad that we were able to do it. If you get the chance, watch it. This weekend, because of when kickoffs happen, we are going to have the radio side, and because we have the radio side, we go up an hour. It's like spring forward, fall back. We're falling back. We're just going to do it before the time actually does. We'll start at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. Central, and go up to 9 a.m. Hopefully you join us then. And, of course, next week right here on Crossed Flags, where we'll talk about this weekend at Atlanta and all the big news from right afterward. Hope you join us then. We'll talk to you Saturday and next Wednesday.